Hi, Midlife Goddess here. I was watching some videos and the topic comes up a lot. Do men basically have to pay for women to be with women? I found this guy's channel, which I really liked, and he's talking about how it's just better for guys to be single, that it costs them a lot less, they're a lot happier, this kind of stuff. And I think there's a lot of women who are saying that same thing. They're saying, that they are happier not married. They live longer without being married. They're tired of taking care of someone. They just want to be single. So this is both men and women are saying the same thing, which is good, which is really good if you think about it, because it means that both of them are over it. They're over the norms, the traditional setup, right? And so really, okay, what I'm hearing is that oftentimes people are in relationships where one is doing way more than the other, and one is a lot more financially capable than the other. I suspect that frequently in these situations, the one who's more financially established is also the one who is less physically attractive, or overall attractive, maybe less attractive to most, or that kind of thing. It just seems that way. It seems like, from what I'm reading, and there's a lot of men saying this, they're like, the woman married me and I was taking care of her for all this time, and then she stops having sex with me, and so then we're not really in a relationship, or she just has sex with me like once in a blue moon, right? And barely enough to keep the relationship going, kind of thing. And so what I'm thinking is, and he said, and the guy that I was listening to, he was like, it's because there's no trust there, and then the woman doesn't want to be intimate with the guy because there's no trust. And I said, in my mind, as you do, oh, it's respect. She doesn't respect him anymore. And I hate to say this, but this is the cold, hard truth, okay? I've seen it happen a million times. And I actually did a video on whether it was better to be, or whether being a hooker or a trophy wife is a better job, because they're both jobs, right? I've seen this a lot. I've seen women who just want to have kids and their clock is ticking and they are literally, and they're on birth control, which is making them pick guys who are weaker than they would normally be attracted to, because their body thinks it's pregnant already. When a woman's on birth control pills, the body thinks that it's pregnant. So she's not looking for somebody who's going to give her the most viable offspring like she would without that. She's looking for a guy who will stick around. What is a guy who stick around very easily usually? More of a beta, right? So she picks this guy, she marries this guy who she, in her head, in a weird way, she's like, oh, there's my person and he's great. But you can just tell, even without her telling you, although sometimes she will tell you the truth, sometimes she'll tell you the truth. But sometimes you'll just read between the lines and you'll think, she wants to have kids, she's picked a guy who can give her some kids and take care of her and the kids, and she's not at all attracted. Now, she's attracted enough to she's like 6 months attracted to this guy. You know what I mean? Like, she can make it work with her dreams of, this is my future, I'm gonna be a mom, I'm gonna have 2 kids, da 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 da. She can make it work, and she can stick with this guy. She can, in the beginning, be, I've heard women tell me, oh, if you want to get a guy to marry you, just give a lot of BJs. Yeah. So it's there's a saying, and it's an awful saying, and it's that men go into love, men go into business, men fall in love and women fall into business, men enter into a love, women into business. Oh gosh, it's like when you try to tell a joke and you just screw it up royally. That's what I do with these quotes sometimes. But you get what I'm saying, that the quote is basically saying that women go into business when she picks a man. And oftentimes that I've seen it happen. It happens a lot. And so when these guys are saying they're better off single and that they were with this wife that they were paying for everything and she didn't even want to have sex with them, well, guess what? She probably didn't want to have sex with them that much even in the beginning. It was only that dream. She was in love with that dream of being married and having kids and not having to work enough to convince maybe even herself or not. She might be just a strategic person, or she may have convinced herself to act the role. And the guy's like, wow, she's better looking than me. She's a great catch, right? Thinking that he's getting something that's a little out of his league and that he's lucky. But is he? No, because then the truth comes out. Then, especially after she's had the kids, her position in her mind is solidified. She's like, well, he doesn't want to leave the mother of his children. I've got him now. And she might really slack and stop acting, stop bothering to act. She doesn't respect him. She may never have respected him, okay? It's awful. I'm just telling you things I've noticed, things I've seen, and I'm not saying everything's like this, and there are exceptions to every single rule, and I'm certainly sure that some woman met some guy once who was a really nice guy, and he did everything right, and she actually did fall in love with him. And it lasted, and it grew, right? That's got to have happened. I just don't know of it, because it's probably not spoken of the same way. Anyway, so in that case, it's like, is the guy being used? Yeah, he is. But could he have avoided it? Yes. And here's how. He could have picked a woman who is his physical and financial equivalent. And when you're with someone who's your equal, you really don't have to worry about being used. You don't. If you're both equally attractive or unattractive, if you're both equally poor or rich, whatever. If you're in the same range, no one has to worry about that. It doesn't happen. And I just want to make everyone feel better by saying that I've seen plenty of women who are in the same scenario with guys who are way more attractive than the woman, and oftentimes much younger. Although sometimes younger doesn't mean he's going to be more attractive, let's be honest. He might be younger, and like the Rod Stewart song said, you ain't as great as you are young. It might be one of those, not like a super catch in any way, just young. But I've seen guys who are much more of a catch than the woman, and you could say he's using her, and he's just kissing up to her, and he wants, this, that, or the other that she has. She makes his position in life more comfortable, better. And then, he might stop the game at some point because he doesn't really respect her. Although I think that a man is more inclined to like feeling needed. And so at least there would be that dynamic there. I'm not sure, but I'm just saying that on both sides, you can just watch the movie 90 Day Fiance and you'll feel very bad for these people, right? You'll see there's always one that's giving a lot financially and one that's taking, and it doesn't even just need to be financial. It can be in many ways that this happens, and in improper balance, essentially, an inequity. So, I just think the solution is just date your equal. That's the easiest thing. Don't think that you deserve a supermodel if you're not a supermodel. You know what I mean? Just be attracted to the people that are in your range, and you don't have this problem of having to feel used, having to say that it's so much better being single than it was being in a relationship. Were they really in a relationship, or were they in an arrangement? That's the real question. Were they even in a relationship? If they felt that used and that taken advantage of, and they were doing everything and the other person was doing nothing, was that even a relationship, or was that a transaction? I'm kind of looking at there's a bunch of sad things I see, but you know, there are people that go to foreign countries, both male and female, and they are with these super poor people that can't afford anything, and they're like, oh, they really love me, blah blah. And you know, everyone knows. I mean, it's not a mystery. You know, it's all kind of sad, but it's probably coming from just the idea that if someone's not out of your range, too good for you, then you're not attracted to them, right? It's like we have to all be attracted to our equals, and then happy ever after. When you see couples that are really in love, they always match in a way. You know what I'm saying? They always sort of are like, even if you didn't see them standing next to each other and you entered the room, you would have put them together because they match. And when you see those couples, and you know, it's like, I mean, the typical one that you see is the woman that's just wearing very loud, flashy designer stuff, which I think designer stuff is pretty, if it's obvious, it's pretty tacky anyway. That's just my opinion, but I just don't really like it. And they're with this guy who's, you know, might be just way less attractive than them in a way that's very obvious from, you know, you just could see it from a mile away. And she's never happy. She's just like looking for the next season's new bag, or she's got to brag about another house they just bought or something. Women who are with a guy that they're really into are not bragging about stuff that their husband got them. There's your clue. At all. Women who are with a guy that they're into are like, he planted flowers in the yard for me, or he gets up early and makes me coffee every morning, and he doesn't have to, but he does. Or, you know, he always walks the dog so I never have to. He does these little things, and she's bragging to you about that because she's really in love with her husband and the thoughtful things he does. And I think it's the same with guys when they're in love with a woman. They're not saying, hey, do you want to see the house we live in? Let me show you. Hey, did you see the new car I got? They're not saying that. We know what it is. We know what it is. And if you're going to do that, is it better just to straight up hire someone and call it what it is rather than pretend that you're in a relationship when you're really in a transaction? I don't know. It's just kind of depressing to me when I see that all these people are basically in these such unhappy relationships where they feel so taken advantage of that they're saying they'd rather be single. But then the good part is, or the optimism comes in, that men and women are saying the exact same thing. So they're both dissatisfied in the same way, which means that they can meet in the middle. And my very simple solution, because I'm a practical person, I'm not like do these 100 things and do this complicated stuff. I'm just like, let's just get to the root of the problem. And it seems like the root of the problem is they're just not with somebody who's their equal. And if they were, none of this would exist. None of these problems would be there if they weren't fooling themselves in the first place, you know? So anyway, that was kind of a rant, but I hope that it was something that made you think. And do you have any friends that are truly in love, and do they match? Like I'm saying, like, would you look at them and know they were together at the party when no one even told you? Would you just know that they were together? And do you know any of these couples who are constantly talking about new stuff like acquisitions, and if they have kids, they'll be talking about their kids too, and you know that they're just not really that into each other? It's like, I don't know, something unfair is going on, but it is fair because it's a deal. They made a deal. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe if you haven't. It really does help, and please share. Have an amazing day and live a great story.